So we're about the same. So this is where I put the dough when we mixed it. This is how much it's gone up. And this is a good place to stop and shape it. It would continue on, but then if we shaped it from there, it might run out of its oomph. So it needs to have some oomph left so it can rise in the oven. So we just take the lid off. And the temperature is nice now. It's cooled down a little bit, so that's great. So then you take your scraper and just shove it down the side. That just pulls it away from the side of the container. So if you have a round bowl, just scooch it in. Then we just turn it upside down. Just let gravity go to work. So we've got 2 Garys. How do we have 2 Garys? Oh, maybe Gary got his laptop going. Let's see what we end up with. We do. We have 2 Garys.
2 Garys and 2 Annettes.
2 Garys, 2 Annettes, and a Sherry. There's probably a rhyme in there somewhere. I'm not clever enough to figure it out. Hi, Gary. So you got on your laptop then?
Yeah.
Oh, well done. Now
so you just tip it upside down on the counter, yeah?
Yeah, and see gravity. So you might have been transitioning, Gary and Annette. I think you were just hopping on. So I just put the scraper down between the dough and the side of the container just to loosen it, and just plopped it upside down on the counter. Gravity has pulled it out. Just don't want to overwork it because we are going to flatten it out and shape it. So we just don't want to wear it out too much. And just scrape out any stuff in the container and get that out of the way.
Mine doesn't want to come out of the container. Oh, slowly.
Slowly. It is a slow process.
Taking its own sweet time.
Well, and being cold will slow it down, but we do want it to be cold because it's just easier to handle. So while it's coming out of the container, get your seeds ready. So these are really easy to work with. Sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds, and these are raw. So these I put in my banneton because these will decorate the top of your loaf of bread and make it look gorgeous. And I've made no end of mention of the fact that I love nettles. So I've got some nettles that I've roasted. I'm going to put these inside the dough when we shape it. But I went foraging this morning and got some fresh leaves. I'm going to use these. I've coated them with olive oil. That helps them stick to the dough and keeps them from burning. So I'm going to put those in the bottom of the banneton because those will also decorate the top of the loaf. And once we get through this process, then we can talk about some other things that you can mix in your dough, but I want to keep things fairly simple because we get enough problems with temperatures and things like that, don't we? And who else has ordered bannetons besides
Well, I've got 2. Actually, one's a lot bigger than the other, and okay. So I've got a couple of round dishes, Pyrex dishes.
Okay.
I can probably order another one tonight, and it'll be here tomorrow.
I like bannetons because they just make it look gorgeous. And don't wash your banneton. It's needless. You just don't need to. And if they start to get a bit crusty, I'll just run my fingernails along the ridges just to break up any flour that's accumulated in the ridges. Somebody makes brushes that you can use to just brush any accumulated flour. If you do, what did I do? Dried cranberries, I think, one time. Well, and dried sun-dried tomatoes. And that sort of got gloopy, and so I did need to wash it then, but you don't worry about washing it regularly.
I was going to say I wash mine when they arrive. I usually, anything new that arrives, I normally wash it before I use it.
Yeah, and then just dry them out really well, because they will get moldy if you leave them damp, but mine get used too much to really go moldy too much. Okay, so we've got our dough out. To get your scraper, and you'll need your scale again for this. So my bannetons are the smaller ones, so they're about 17 across.
Okay.
I mean, 600 grams. Yours looks like a bigger one. You're probably making a 900 gram, do you think?
Probably. Would it be better making?
What now?
I'm just wondering, is that because I've got one that's almost twice as big as, you know, when you're looking at the dimensions on the website, and then when you see it in reality, it's completely different. So that's going to be a really small one. That's almost twice the size. Is it worth doing one large and one small then?
Yeah. So I'm going to divide mine in 3s. So just cut it right through the middle.
So I should divide mine into like 2/3 and 1/3 then, yes?
Yeah. So we've got 1,800 grams of dough. So mine, I'm making 3 600 gram. That's where the digital scales are brilliant, because you can just see right there. You don't have to over handle the dough. We're going to do enough to it in just a minute. So that's pretty good.
So I would need 1,200 and 600.
Yeah, good.
Be easy to weigh the
To what now?
Weigh the smaller one.
So you get your dough divided up, and just plonk one down and spread it out. Just push out from the middle. Make a sort of a rectangle. That's a good rectangle. Now we're going to do a letter fold. This is again where the scraper comes in really handy. Just pick up an edge, fold it down 1/3 of the way, and pick up the bottom, fold it over the other 1/3, and then pick it up on one end. Some people will fold one side over, fold the other side over. I like to roll it. I think it helps, because we'll do this twice. I think it helps to get a nice rise in your dough. So then push it down again, and you'll feel a resistance now as it's starting to work the dough. It's so lovely and reactive, because it really is alive in many ways. We've seen because of the bubbles and stuff. So it's getting very reactive now. So now another rectangle, and this is where you add your fillings. And I roasted some sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds. It just brings out a little bit of the flavor. So those I put on the inside. I wouldn't put these on the outside to decorate the loaf on the outside, because they probably burn, because they're already partially cooked. Some people say to soak the raw nuts and then block them out and put them in the dough. I just don't like that way, but you can try. You can experiment. Once you put the basic down, then you can start to experiment. Some of the fillings I've tried is chili and cheese. So
that sounds nice.
Really small. You could grate the cheese, but I think it would blend in too much. I like to get those little pockets. Caraway seeds are gorgeous, especially sort of this time of year, soup weather. The first time I did it was beautiful. So the next time I used a little bit more of the caraway seeds, and it was too much. it's just overwhelming. I thought it was going to put me off caraway seeds forever.
They're quite strong, aren't they?
They are pleasant when it's a little bit. Fresh cracked black pepper is really nice too.
Because I lived in the Middle East, and za'atar is they make these cheese breads and they put all sorts of fillings on them. It's really thin. I can see me putting thyme in this.
Let us know what you do. Now, these are the roasted nettle seeds. So I'm going to put those on the inside. But less is more again. If you put too much, it'll start poking through the outside of your loaf. And I do like the taste of nettle leaves. But you can also sprinkle nettle leaves. Now we're going to do another one of those, the letter folds. So a third and down. And then third from the bottom up. And again, roll it from one side to the next. Now this is where it gets tricky. You notice I haven't used any flour.
Yeah.
Which sort of goes against bread making. So we've got sort of untidy there. So I'm very quickly, just see how I'm just pushing that untidy underneath, and I'm handling it very quickly to do that. And then plonk it down. You want your hands like this, flat, like paddles, fingertips touching. The edge of your hand is going to go on the countertop, and you're going to pull it slightly to the left and slightly towards you. And everything stays on the counter. Can you see what I'm doing? What that's doing is creating a surface tension on the top. As I pull it, it stretches the top. And then you can do sort of a quick little karate chop at the bottom. And then plonk it in your bowl of flour.
Can I interrupt a minute, Trisha? Yours has got consistency to it. Mine is just sort of looking like a cow pat.
Did you roll it out into a rectangle? Push it into a rectangle.
No, whenever you push it into a rectangle, it ends up being like a cow pat.
Maybe you need to take a little more authority with your dough.
No, it's looking like a cow. It's too moist. It's not.
Oh, I see. Okay. In that case, you could sprinkle some flour on your counter.
Right.
Maybe you got some condensation in the box.
No, it had an airtight lid.
I wonder why it's so moist. But we don't typically flour like we do with.
So you just put a little bit of flour in the bowl, then, yeah.
Well, you want a bowl of flour. Sorry about that noise. That's horrible. Because you want to coat your dough with flour so it doesn't stick to the banneton. Now, I've been doing this for a while, so I'll just coat the inside of my banneton, but I want you to make sure it's really coated well. You don't have to worry about that. Do another one. See it again. So does that make sense with the pulling it towards you and actually see that surface tension, the surface stretching? So isn't this cool?
you just drop the dough in the flour and that.
Drop it in the bowl of flour and just swizzle it around so it really coats the bottom and the sides. And then it just goes in like that. Okay. I'll show you something else I do, which you might want to go through this process before you try it. So the Romans especially used to put strings on their bread. They would go buy bread in town or the market, and the bread maker would have these strings baked into bread, so they would buy it and they would just hang it on their belts. They didn't have shopping bags and all that. They would just hang things off their belts. So I took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. So I took 4 pieces of this is baking tray, just baking tray, and just lay them crisscross. And then where they overlap in the middle, just pick it up, tie a little knot so you get a little loop in it. So then that loop goes in the bottom of the banneton, and then just extend the ends of the string over the side. For my next dough, I'm going to plop in here. Then I'm going to gather all the little ends and tie them together. So now the dough, as it proves and rises a little bit, it's going to have indentations where the string is, little sections. It's going to look like a pumpkin.
Oh, how cute.
It is the cutest thing. So I think, for Halloween, or I don't know what I'm going to do. I just think it's cute. But it's also good for like breaking the bread into sections if you're sharing it. Because that's probably what they did. They probably just broke it off. They didn't always have bread knives with them. So, again, just a letter fold over 3 times. Has anybody made crumpets yet? Terry, did you make crumpets?
Not yet.
Yep. Yeah, I did. That worked.
You did make crumpets?
Yeah.
You didn't? Do you have a picture?
Yeah, I have got one picture. Yeah.
Oh, I have to share. Sure.
Weren't really. They tasted nice.
They do. I know, and so easy.
Yeah. Well, my dough wasn't going too well. I thought I'd have a go at the crumpet.
I still got to do the crackers. Show you the crackers.
Mm.
And the next time you feed your starter, when it's nice and bubbly, get either a baking parchment or the silicone sheet or something, and just spread very, very thin, paper thin starter on. Put it in a warm spot, or just leave it out and let it dry. And then just gather up the paper until it all breaks off, and put it in a bag or a little container in the freezer, and you'll have some starter if ever you're traveling or you start boasting about your bread and you can send some starter to a friend and you can post it. And then if anything ever goes wrong with your starter, you've got some in the freezer.
Yeah.
And if it's a nice bubbly one that you have, then you know you've got a good robust one just to reconstitute with some water.
Yeah.
So tomorrow is baking day. We'll bake one loaf I bake one loaf at a time because my other oven's sort of small, and I'm guessing everybody, you all have the sort of same standard non-commercial oven. So I'll probably bake one before we hop on and do a couple of them together. With Christmas coming, fillings you can try. So I'm going to do, and pick it up quickly, ends underneath. And then is the real trick. And then pull it toward me, but a little bit off to the side, slight circle. just to increase that surface tension. The little karate chop around right at the base as I'm turning it around. Plunk it in the ball of flour. And now I've got string Banaton. See if I can get them greased out fairly. I used this string so many times before, it's not very pliable, but it's all right. All right. There it goes. How are you all getting on? All right. The next. Gather up the string and I'll show you like on here. So tomorrow, you have a bread knife. That'd be good, a good sharp knife, because we're gonna, the way we cut the dough right the last minute before we put it in the oven is important. You get a good rise, because as it starts to rise, it's gonna bust out somewhere. We want to have a nice cut in the top so we can control where that release of the steam and the dough. It doesn't look very nice now, but we'll have a look tomorrow, see what it looks like. I'll be sure, I'll send you a picture in the morning so you can see how it starts to rise with the strings, keep it tight so you get a real sculptured effect. I'll do the last one.
So we can put
What now?
So we can put the dough in the Banatons now, yeah?
Yeah, as long as you've got it
We can
coated
put
with flour.
the dough in the Banaton now.
The dough in the Banaton, you coated it with flour.
Yeah.
All right. And the last one. Something else that's good for a filling is just fresh garlic. And
yeah.
I mean, and you would do and just make sure the paste that just spread it before you get that last fold. And I was surprised how baking tamed down the garlic. It wasn't as strong as I thought it would be. Wonderful. And then you could add somebody added tomato paste. I don't know if I would do that, but they liked it. But sun-dried tomatoes and goat cheese.
Oh, that would be lovely. Sun-dried tomatoes, I can imagine.
Oh, just eating. I usually eat a half a loaf of bread a day, but I found when I did the sun-dried tomatoes and goat cheese, a bit heavy. I could really tell the difference when I had the cheese in. Something else, once when it's baked, the bread is finished. I've already cut this one, but you can say this is an entire loaf of bread. You cut sort of round like that, not going all the way to the end, all the way around, and scoop it out, and it makes a great bowl to serve soup, especially like a chowder.
Yeah. And
then you've got what you cut away to serve with it. I love this time of year. You can just.
It's real comfort food time of year, isn't it?
Yes, it is. To know that it's nutritious. That's just a big bonus. Tomorrow when we hop on, I'll have my oven hot, right up to 250 if your oven will get that hot.
Do you know what it would be on fan?
Well, I have mine on fan and I still crank it up to 250 because ideally,
250. Okay.
ideally we
How,
have,
how long does it bake for?
it depends on the size. So mine go for about 35 minutes for my 600-gram ones. So your smaller one, 35, bigger one, probably 45.
Okay.
And I do mind having this digital thermometer. Just, I mean, you can thump it on the bottom and all that stuff, but I love having digital thermometer. I like my bread at an internal temperature of 98.
Okay.
It's I say slightly dry. I don't mean dry, but less than that, it can be a little, not even gummy, but you know, maybe play around with it, see what you prefer. So, I just
That looks yummy.
love it. Never get tired of it. Never get tired of it. You see how that's when I cut the top so that as the dough is rising, it's expanded through here, and it just makes it more visually gorgeous. And yeah, you can cut across, crisscross. You can do, well, in fact, yes, it serves a purpose for when the dough is rising to let the steam escape, but it used to, people didn't necessarily have their own oven. So they'd use a communal oven. And they would take all their dough down and put it in the communal oven. How did they know which one was theirs? Well, it was by the way they cut it. So you would have a signature cut.
Like a signature.
Yeah. And then some traces, some historical evidence shows some people would have a stamp. And I guess they would probably made out of clay, some imprint. They put it in the bottom of their proving bowl, so it'd make an imprint in the dough as it was proving. I haven't tried that yet. I'd love to play around with that. So I'm going to put some more nettle in. I'm going to do my last letter fold. How are the Annettes getting on? Annettes getting on?
Well, mine I've got like two in the bannetons now, so.
Okay. My dough's warming up now because it's been out of the fridge, so I've got to be really fast. So I am tucking that underneath, pulling it toward me. Half circle. Shake, 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 shake. Flour. Shower caps on. 12 hours is a good amount of time for it to prove.
So how long?
12 hours is a good amount of time. So 12, 15. You don't have to wait 24 hours. Yeah, we will wait 2 months.
Do they sit out or do they go in the fridge?
What now?
Do they sit out or do they go in the fridge?
Say that again?
Do they go in the fridge or do
yes,
they
go right in the fridge.
Right, okay.
We want them the slowness, I can't talk, the slowness of the rise helps to modify that gluten. Because we're creating a baseline for people who are celiac or gluten intolerant.
Right, they're in the fridge. Yay.
Well done.
Well, we'll say well done after they've been baking, because obviously I guess the first time you try shaping it, you know, to get the hang of it, and then I think now looking at the bannetons, it's like I could do with one a little bit bigger than the smaller one, and if I had 3 of those, I think that would be the perfect size. It's for me, it's a very visual thing. What you see on the computer is different from what I saw when it arrived, but you know, give it a go and see what happens.
Yeah, and make adjustments. So it took me a while to really get it down.
Hmm.
And the first hurdle was learning, attending a workshop. So I made the first workshop, then I was making edible bread. So that was a big step.
Yeah.
Then now learning this quick method to not have to spend a whole day. Who could spend a whole day now on bread? I couldn't do it. You know, every 20 minutes you got to do something else, and an hour and a half, then you got to do something else, and then
Yeah, it's not practical, that is it? So
but now 10 minutes a day, and once you get through it, we spent, you know, about a half hour now, but you'll be shaping your dough. It won't take long. And it'll just, you know.
So for tomorrow, we're starting at 7. Do you want the oven preheated beforehand so it's okay?
Yeah, and we'll go quickly on. I'll go ahead and bake one of mine.
Because I've only got one skillet, so
yeah, same for me. I just so when you turn your oven on, you want to have that whatever you're going to bake it in the oven to heat up.
Right.
And then I have this great little thermal pad. You have it all set up. So because I cook mine in a cast iron cloche, so it's a cast iron bottom with a dome lid. Inside that is my cast iron pan. So that's all in the oven getting hot. So I need to have something to put the lid on while I get the pan out and all that. And then have a spray bottle of water. So that the drill is going to be hot pan in the oven, have a shallow dish in the oven that you can pour boiling water in, because the steam really helps.
Okay. Can that be on the top shelf, the bowl of water?
Better on the bottom because steam rises.
Yeah.
And you want it to rise and fall back down on the dough, sort of keep bathing in that. So we're going to have
the steam. You have the steam underneath it.
Yeah, the pan of water underneath, and then your bread baking on the next.
Okay.
One
so the bread, it's actually going to be in the center of the oven.
Then. Yeah, I've got, what do I have? 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 settings on mine. So your pan with water in it could be on the bottom, on the floor of the oven.
Yeah.
And then so your dough is on the neck, so it's really near the bottom because you don't want the top to cook too fast.
No.
So the drill is hot oven, pan in the oven, have your thermal thing down, have your parchment paper, your greaseproof paper cut into, like if you're going to do 3 loaves, probably have 3, especially to start out. Sometimes you can reuse it.
Okay. Yeah. I've got greaseproof. Yeah.
Now when I did at Lakeland, they have, you can get it online too, the sheets of the reusable silicone stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I got a sheet and I cut it. So this is the size of my cast iron pan. And I just left these little handles so I can use it over and over and over and over again. Don't have to keep faffing about with the paper. Yeah. So the drill is, I'll take one of these out. This has been in all day. So hot pan, take it out really fast, set it down. Your parchment paper or your silicone goes on top of the banneton, flip it over. So now you've got your dough on your hand, on the paper, put it down on the counter, get your bread knife, and you're gonna do a quick slash. And you want to get some depth to it.
About an inch.
A good inch. good solid inch, not a timid inch, good inch. And then you want to have your bread knife at an angle, not like you're carving a roast. You want it at an angle, inward for your cut. And whether you want to cut this way or crisscross. If you're going to crisscross, keep it down, but you can do a circular one like this, or a long one. Keep it to an angle. That just helps it open up beautifully. Yeah. But you'll have three goes if you're doing 3 loaves or 2 goes. And so you do that cut, and you plonk this into the hot pan. I spritz mine because mine's in an enclosed environment. Spritz it. You can still spritz it anyway, and then just bung it in the oven. So that should be like really quick.
Okay. And then sit and wait.
And I set my little timer.
Yeah, I've got a timer on my fridge, so
easy to forget. And
I've got an oven thermometer. So you're saying that the inside of Oh, you've got you want, because I've got a digital one, but it seems to be more for meat than for
Well, I've got this one in my oven.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
So that tells me when the oven's up to temperature. But I have the digital one with a probe to tell me when the bread's up to temperature. But oh, come on. But you can see that it's brown. You can thump it on the bottom for that hollow sound. But I just like to know it's consistent. Because if it's not done and you take it out and you cut it, it's virtually impossible to put it back.
No, I have got a digital probe, so I think that'll probably work just as well. So great. Do we leave the bread in the fridge, the dough in the fridge till the very last minute?
Very last minute. When we hop on, we'll have hot ovens, and give everybody a couple minutes to jump on, and then we'll get the first one done, and then we can have a break and hop back on 5 minutes before the bread's due to come out if you want, or we can talk about nettles or something. I don't know.
I'm not going to be able to join you tomorrow night, Patricia.
Okay.
I'm off to traveling up to York for a funeral on Friday. So I'll catch up on the recording. Thank you.
And then let's catch up, whenever, just ping me in the group.
Yeah.
Any questions and post pictures, and we'll see what's what. Good.
Well, as I say, I won't be able to see you tomorrow night, so I'll catch it on the recording. And thank you. And I'll chase my son and my nephew to watch them as well and post them when they've made it.
Yeah, we'll see. I'd love to see how they're getting on.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Have a good evening.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Gary. Okay. And I'll stop recording now so we don't have to